Okay, so we were learning the Gemara yesterday about Rabbi Yehuda Marav's statement that there are three things that need rachamim. You need to ask for mercy from Hashem, that they come, that you have these things. One of them is to have a good king. Another one is a good year. And the other is a good dream. The Gemara will get into dreams for like 3 pages. But the Gemara then tried to prove that you should ask Hashem for a king. In other words, these are things that Hashem is directly involved with. And it brings a pasuk about a king that like streaming waters, like a stream of water, palgei mayim, streams of waters, Lev melech biyad Hashem, the heart of the king is in the hand of Hashem. And the way I translated it is that just like the spring, you could direct it, so also Hashem is the one who specifically directs the heart of the king to decide to make his decisions. And so it's important for you to daven. You have to ask Hashem for mercy for a good king, for good decisions that a king makes. The next thing was a Shana Tova, good year, and it brought a verse. The verse was Hashem's eyes are upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So the emphasis is that Hashem is directly involved with having a good year, a year of abundance, of blessings, and so on. Hashem is gazing at it. His eyes are upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And therefore, you should always ask Hashem for a good year. And we got a little sidetracked yesterday with the fact that there is a Gemara that says that when it uses this verse, it emphasizes that Hashem really judges on Rosh Hashanah for the whole year. So the question is, does our Gemara mean that you should constantly be asking Hashem for a good year? Or does it mean Rosh Hashanah time? Because on Rosh Hashanah is when really Hashem judges the whole year, even though we know that there are individual judgments afterwards and so on throughout the year. But at the beginning of the year, that's really where the main judgment is on the year. So is that when it's referring to you should ask Hashem for a good year, does it mean specifically Rosh Hashanah time? Or does it really mean throughout the year? In other words, the verse that it brings, there's also that learning, that lesson from that verse about the fact that the beginning of the year really is where you're judged for the whole year. So it turns out that the Maharshal learns this Gemara the way I explained it yesterday, which is that it actually is referring to Rosh Hashanah, these things, that a person on Rosh Hashanah should be davening for a good king and a good year and good dreams. Why on Rosh Hashanah should you daven for these things? Because in heaven, what is the, I shouldn't say in heaven, what is the main element of Rosh Hashanah? The main concept of Rosh Hashanah is accepting Hashem as king. Hashem is being coronated. We're announcing Hashem's kingship. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. Whatever happens in heaven corresponding to the heaven happens in earth. That means that the kings on earth are also coronated on Rosh Hashanah. So on Rosh Hashanah is a good time to ask for a good king, a Melech Tov. On Rosh Hashanah is a good time to ask for a Shana Tova. These are specifically connected to Rosh Hashanah. And the same thing would apply to a dream, because on Rosh Hashanah, a dream is more meaningful than a regular dream throughout the year. And so the way the Maharshal learns is that this is emphasizing on Rosh Hashanah the importance of asking Hashem for mercy. Yes, Ben.
Do you have the source for Techalmeni Chaim?
So the verse is a pasuk in Yeshaya,
Yeshaya.
Let me tell you where it is. Yeshaya 38:16.
38:16. Because I still have an issue with that. So, because I think if that pasuk meant a good dream, it would say Techalmeni Chalom. If it says Techalmeni Chaim, it's actually healing me for life.
So you're not wrong. You're right. It means strengthen me or heal me for and give me life.
Yeah.
But the Gemara has the license to give an alternative meaning to it, even though the simple meaning is, as you're saying, there are deeper layers to it. And the same word chaloim is hinted to in that word of healing. In other words, it could have used the word batir pa'eni, v'hachzikeni, you strengthened me, you healed me. Somehow there's a reason why the Gemara is able to explain it as well. Not
in other words,
it's not arguing.
It's an additional meaning.
Additional meaning.
Okay.
It's using on a deeper level, and it's emphasizing the dream. Yes, Robert.
So what we're saying is there are different levels of dreams. I mean, if we'd be negative, then, a bad dream, but it's defined as a nightmare. And all nightmares are disturbing, are terrible. But what we're saying that dreams have different impacts, positive impacts on us. Yes? Is that a way to
So we didn't really touch upon the different levels of dreams, except for the fact that Rosh Hashanah dream is more meaningful than a dream during the year.
Yeah,
that's
because
really
it's
all
a
we said about
proximity
the
to the new year. Yeah.
I didn't really say much about the different layers of dreams. I was talking about different layers of the Torah, that there are different ways of translating it based on what level of the Torah. And here we're using the Gemara's level, the level of drush, which is a deeper level than the level of the surface, which would be more pshat. Pshat would be like surface level. This is more drush. So so one way of learning the Gemara is it's emphasizing on Rosh Hashanah that these are things that are directly Hashem's involvement is very direct. It's not at all indirect. But there is another way of learning it, and that is that this applies all year round. And the point of the Gemara is really to emphasize that no matter what was decided on Rosh Hashanah, throughout the year things could change, and therefore everything is in the hands of Hashem, and things could change from good to bad, from bad to good, and you should be asking mercy throughout the year in order that you will find blessings. And these things constantly need mercy. Even after you have them, you still need to ask Hashem for mercy. So it's emphasizing the idea that Hashem doesn't put it on these blessings on autopilot. He's continuously possibly changing things, and he's continuously involved with these things, and therefore you constantly need to ask Hashem for mercy. And for these three things. And even if a person had a good dream, they need to ask Hashem for mercy that dream will come true. So in other words, it's a continuation of that idea about the good year or good king is a dream as well. You need to ask Hashem that the good dream, you had a dream that you're going to win the lotto, if that's a blessing. So it's a good dream, right? But you have to daven to Hashem that it should actually work. So,
and if it doesn't, what happens?
Ask
Better luck
again.
next time, right?
Might have to get a job.
It's too late.
So so that's this Gemara. The next Gemara is very similar. We're on page 54a, and now we're jumping to Rabbi Yochanan. I'm a Rabbi Yochanan. Let me tell you where we are.
Art Scroll has it at 55a.
55a, yeah. What did I say?
54a.
Oh, I'm sorry, 55A. Correct. Thank you. We're right in the middle over there at the middle of the page at the two dots. There are three things that God himself announces that they should come. Ve'elohein ra'av, if there's a famine. V'soiva, satisfaction, meaning like rain and abundance. And uparnas, and someone who is a authoritative figure over the community, some person in charge, a parnas type, a good leader. And the Gemara says, where do we see that these three things Hashem himself announces? Ra'av, case of a famine, the siv as it says, Kikara Hashem l'Ra'av. Hashem called there to be a famine. Soiva, that there would be abundance. It says, V'karasi el hadagon v'herbesi. I call the grain and I make it in abundance. In a parnas toiv, a good leader, Dechsiv, as it says, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe, Lema, Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, Re'ei karasi b'shem Betzalel. I called in the name of Betzalel to hire Betzalel to build the Mishkan. Yes, Robert.
I guess, everything we've been talking about are blessings and they're positive. Why do we then have such a thing as a negative for a blessing?
So I don't know if it means it's a blessing. It means that Hashem is specifically involved in either way, whether it's soiva, abundance, or whether it's famine. Hashem is making that decision in a very direct way, and he is the one announcing it. In other words, he doesn't even have like an angel announce it. He's the one specifically directly. It's more direct. It's not indirect. In other words, everything is from Hashem. Everything Hashem decides, but certain things are more direct and other things could be indirect. And here, these are the things that are direct. So again, I don't know if it's not claiming to be a
positive,
blessing,
but it's not positive.
You're right, because there are certain decisions that Hashem himself makes about the year, how it's going to come out. If it's going to be a lot of water, minimum, a drought. If it's going to be, Hashem makes both of those decisions. Now, is there any negative thing that comes from heaven? From heaven, only good comes. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we don't see it. We don't see the good. But that's the way Hashem makes it. So sometimes these are the decisions that Hashem is deciding upon in a direct way. Of course, there's numerous things that are being decided. And these are just three things that we find verses that it shows that Hashem is like directly doing it himself, so to speak. Yes, Robert.
I guess the other question is, in naming the three, plenty follows famine. Now, does that mean, or they're grouped together because after famine, a logical or a hoped for phenomenon would be plenty? To counterbalance the famine. I just wonder whether that's part of the continuum, or it's just a statement that there's going to be good and there's going to be bad.
So my understanding of this is that it could have been divided. It could have been only one of them, meaning that if we didn't find the verse, we could say that Hashem is directly involved with famine, but he's not directly involved with abundance. But we did find a verse that he's also involved with abundance. Or it could be the opposite. Hashem is directly involved with abundance, but he's not involved with famine, which would mean that the famine, the drought, that is an angel like Gavriel is sort of the one who Hashem is using. Gavriel, maybe the angel Gabriel, to bring the famine. But here, the Gemara proves that it's all Hashem, so to speak. It's all directly from Hashem. Now, of course, there's no intermediaries, but it just means that Hashem is directly involved, or he's the one he's just telling Gavriel what to do. Okay, so anyway, so these are the verses that we have to this to these three things, that Hashem is the one directly announcing these things. And now the Gemara gets involved with Betzalel, the story of Betzalel. So Amar Reb Yitzchok ein ma'amidim parnas al tzibur ela im kein nimlachin betzibur. Reb Yitzchok says regarding a parnas, regarding some type of a community activist or a leader, it says that you don't put this activist in charge of the congregation unless you ask them first. So even though you might be the biggest, the greatest rabbi around, and you said this, and you endorse a certain candidate who's a top-notch person, this is a great person for your community, that's not acceptable. You need to make sure that the community, you have to check with the community and see if they are interested. And how do we know this? That you shouldn't put a parnas, a leader on a community unless you check with them first. So the source is Shenemar, as it says, Re'u kara Hashem b'shem Betzalel. See that Hashem called in the name of Betzalel. And what does it mean by saying that? What it means is, so the Gemara gives us a expounding of what exactly happened. The Gemara expounds on that verse, telling us what the real story was, what actually happened. Amar loya Kodesh Baruch Hu Moshe. Hashem told Moshe, Hagon Alecha Betzalel. Hashem told Moshe, does Betzalel seem proper for you to be on top of you, to be involved with the Mishkan? Does he seem to be a good guy for you? Amar Loi. So Moshe said, Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the universe. Im lefanecha Hagon, before you he is proper. Lefanai like Holshkein, in front of me isn't for sure. He's proper. If he's good enough for you, he's good enough for me. Amar Loi. So Hashem said, Afal Pikein Lechamar Lahem. Nevertheless, go tell them, meaning go tell the Jewish people. Check with them. Halach, he went, Va'amar Lahem LeYisrael, and they told the Jews, Hagon Aleichem Betzalel, is Betzalel proper for you? Amar Loi, they said, Im Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ulefanecha Hu Hagon, if before you and before Hashem and before you he's proper, Lefanenu like Kolshkein, in front of us, isn't it for sure? For sure he is proper. And so we see from this story, like, even though obviously they accepted Betzalel and obviously they were going to accept him, but you still have to check with them and get their okay. And what does this really refer to? So commentaries debate, like, what does this mean? Who's going to put a leader on someone if they don't if they didn't accept him? Like, which community is getting who's appointing someone on top of a community if the community themselves didn't appoint him? What does this refer to? So one of the commentaries explains, it's talking about a bezdin, that the court might think that they're going to decide this should be the rabbi of town or something. They might make a decision of who should be in charge. And the conclusion is that the Gemara here tells us, no, that you could endorse someone, you could encourage someone, but you can't decide. You don't have the final say. We got to check with the community. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, but according to tradition, Betzalel was only 13 years old at the time, so you can see why there was the possibility that somebody in the community may have had an issue. Right.
But at the same time, Hashem thought he was good, so who was going to argue? You could say, like, who would argue? But at the same time, no, you got to do that. Now, what I think it really tells you, I think it brings out a point here that maybe I should mention, and that is that if a person accepts someone and someone's authority, it will be a lot easier to fulfill their wishes than if you don't physically accept it. Meaning that even though, of course, they're going to say yes, because Hashem chose Bezalel, but when they're asked and they said, it's like you don't want to embarrass yourself. I myself chose him, right? So in other words, the benefit of asking the congregation is not just to show them some respect, but it really is in order to make his words listened to, that the people feel that they're the ones who hired him. They're not going to go about rebelling against him that soon, because they're the ones who chose him. And the thing is, what about Moshe Rabbeinu? Initially, when Moshe was chosen to lead the Jewish people in Egypt, people complained, right? You're making things worse for us. So in a certain sense, we don't find that Moshe, the people were given this opportunity to choose, right? So does that contradict this Gemara? Any thoughts on that? What about Moshe? Moshe, Hashem told him, go to speak to Pharaoh and get things rolling over there. And you didn't really get the okay of the community. At least we don't know of that.
In the case of Egypt, the people were praying and screaming to God, help us. So they have less of a voice in choosing. Here, Bezalel is put in that position, and then they ask the people, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. In other words, you're saying that because they were screaming to Hashem, they sort of were saying, "We whoever you
Right.
choose, we accept."
Right. They were not picky,
okay.
just help us.
Anyone you want, just get them here to
Anyone
help
you
us out.
think is right. Yeah.
Right.
And Moshe himself was reluctant. He thought that there were other people that were better than him, including Aaron.
But so therefore,
yes. So yes. So yes.
so Moshe was himself didn't know if he didn't really want it himself,
right?
And he thought maybe Aaron should have the job. Right. So the question is, what about the people? Well, like, why didn't we ask the community there? In other words, Amram, Hashem should have or asked Aaron to ask the community, is it okay if my brother becomes the leader?
Yeah, but right. I also saw something that the community de facto accepted him because there's a medrash that Sarah had told them that when somebody uses the words pakod pakadati, you know that he's the leader, and which is what Moshe did.
Right. So what Mordechai is saying is that maybe the fact that he had the right words, everyone knew that this is the right person, and therefore there was no option of this was like the elders already had accepted him when he said those words. They did accept him. Once he said those words, they accepted him, and so maybe that was it. In other words, when he went to speak to the elders, he said the words "pakod pakadati." Maybe that was that was where they did accept him. When he said those words. So it's possible. Maybe there was some type of acceptance, at least by the elders, because he went to gather the elders. And okay, so anyway, that's so here we have a case of where they asked Bezalel about they asked the community if they want Bezalel to be the chief artisan of the Mishkan. Okay, now comes the next Gemara.
Rabbi,
Shmuel, yes, David.
This idea that Moshe did not want to be the leader. He said, Shlachna, send somebody else. This sounds like yesterday's Gemara, where we said a person should not refuse to get an aliyah or to lead the benching. They shouldn't say, let somebody else do it. So it seems the opposite of what we're saying.
So there is the other Gemara that says that someone who is, what about Yosef? A person who manhig atzmai b'rabbanos, will die before his brothers. So maybe he was worried that being in charge is not really healthy. It causes a lot of stress and causes someone to die early. You know what I mean? It wasn't exactly a case of Torah and bracha there. It was a case of being a leader with all the tzaras that it brings, all the white hairs that it brings with it.
And he did die after Aaron.
Right,
Yeah,
but you would think he would die early. You would have thought that he would have died.
But I'm
died
saying
earlier.
he didn't because what he said.
But maybe. But anyway, the bottom line is that that I don't know if these specific cases prove that he should have agreed right away. You know what I mean? In addition to the fact that he wasn't doing it in any way of not wanting to help the community. His simple purpose was he didn't want his brother to be embarrassed. So he had a reason behind it that's not, that's not really similar to these, where these are maybe about these are more arrogance. There are other ways of the reason behind the person who's doing this. At least some of the commentary, the commentaries try to give certain reason. I think the Meiri says that these things are connected to arrogance, but Moshe's idea was all about humility. So it wouldn't seem like it would be a problem.
That's what I was saying, that the connection was yesterday, that a person who forgoes an aliyah, a person says, there's better people than me to get an aliyah. So it's not only, it could be viewed as arrogance, but it could be viewed as the opposite, that the person feels, I'm humble. What do I need an aliyah for? It should be somebody else that gets an aliyah, or there's somebody more important than me to lead the benching. So it can be mistaken for arrogance, but it may be coming from humility. And the same as Moshe, that it's definitely not from arrogance, because he's the most humble person on the face of the earth. So it's definitely coming from humility. So I thought that there was a similarity between the two.
Which would mean that maybe there are examples where you could say no. In other words, if it doesn't have the reason behind it. If the reason of these have to do with arrogance, then then there would be examples where maybe where you're doing it in a way of humility. Maybe it wouldn't apply. Good point. Right. In other words, you want to honor someone else with the Kaishal Bracha, because you think it's wrong that you should get it, and there's a big rabbi there from some other place or someone who's very important, and they're giving it to you. Maybe it is maybe there would be a leniency to not bench. The case in the Shulchan Aruch, I think it was chapter 201. So it says, like a guest that they give him to bench and he doesn't bench, Makatzer Yomov, because his days are shortened because he prevents himself from blessing the Balabayas, who's from the children of Abraham, Avarcham, Avarachecha, I will bless those that bless you. And from here you see the opposite. Person doesn't do that. So, and Shulchan Aruch doesn't really say about if there's any leniency if you have a reason, if you have reason why you want to give it up. Maybe there should be some. In other words, you're not doing it because you don't want to bless the Balabayas. You're doing it simply for honor for someone else, who maybe will be embarrassed. It would seem like maybe there should be some room for should like explain, clarify. When you're allowed, is it a blanket rule that you're not allowed to, say no? Just 1 second. Hello? Sorry. Okay. So it would seem that it's interesting. I wonder what the later commentaries. There's a book called Piskei Tshuvos that maybe would talk about this. Now, I should mention that the Sharat Tzion, which is written by the Mishnah Berurah, he says nowadays the minhag is about any guest to say. The minhag is that any guest in someone's house says Harachman hu yivarech es balabayis. So it could be that this whole law doesn't apply nowadays. In other words, in the olden days, when one person said the bracha, then it applied that you don't want to give up that opportunity to bless another Jew. But here you are. Everyone can say that harachman. We all say the whole benching nowadays, and so it could be that this entire halacha doesn't have application. That's the Mishnah Berurah's. He quoting who is he quoting? The Elya Rabbah, that he's mafakfek, he's unsure if this would apply nowadays. So it is interesting. Thank you, David, for bringing it up. I'll have to take a look in that sefer called Piskei Tshuvos. Might touch upon any leniencies. Again, normally we would say a mitzvah that comes to your hand, you're not supposed to give it up, but maybe there should be room for, if you want to honor someone's going to be, if you don't give it, you'll make someone feel good and honor someone. So maybe there should be room for to bring some honor to someone or respect for someone. Okay. In any event, so we're jumping back over there. Let's go back to where we were. We're talking about Betzalel and the fact that Hashem asked Moshe to ask the community about choosing Betzalel. Now, in Parsha Shemos, where Hashem chooses Moshe by the burning bush, by the snap. So he says, "Lech v'yasafta ziknei Yisrael, go gather the elders and tell them, Hashem appeared to me and pakadati eschem, and I am going to take you from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, to the land of Zavas Chalav Udvash, flowing with milk and honey, and they will listen to your voice, and you should go, the elders, to Pharaoh and tell him that Hashem has appeared, and I know that he's not going to let you go right away." So Moshe is commanded to go to the elders. So as Mordechai was saying, maybe that itself, or maybe the words pakadati, maybe that itself would be a understanding that this was like with their acceptance. It says afterwards where he actually went, he gathered all the elders of the Bnei Israel, and Aaron spoke all these things, and he did he gathered the elders of the Bnei Israel, and Aaron spoke all these words, and he did the wonders, and they trusted Vayamein Ha'am, and they trusted him. Vayishma'u ki fakar Hashem es Bnei Israel, and they listened, they understood that Hashem remembered, and he saw. So it seems that the entire episode, maybe the miracles, that was their acceptance. It says Vayamein Ha'am. The people accepted it. The people believed, and they heard. They understood that Hashem had chosen. So it does seem that maybe is the acceptance that Hashem wanted before Moshe was chosen to be the leader. I don't know. You know what I mean? The Gemara doesn't bring it as a proof, but it does seem like it should fit, and that's probably the understanding. Okay, so now we have the next Gemara. Amar Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Reb Yonasan. Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani says in the name of Reb Yonasan, Betzalel al Shem Chachmasei Nikra. Betzalel is a combination of two words, and his name, the name Betzalel, a combination of different words that he was called because of his chachma. And what does this mean? Because of his wisdom. When Hashem told Moshe, Lech Amar Leila Betzalel, Aseh le Mishkan Ar B'Kelim, Hashem told Moshe, go tell Betzalel to make for me a Mishkan, Aron, and Caleb. So make for me these three things: the Mishkan, which means the outer part of the Mishkan, the building itself. The Aron would be the ark, and the Kalim are the other utensils of the Mishkan. The Naira, the Shulchan, the table, the altars. Now, Halach Moshe v'hafach, Moshe went and he switched the order. Barmaloi, I say Aron v'Kalim Mishkan. Make the Aron, implying the Aron first. First make the ark, then make the vessels, and then make the Mishkan. Really, what was he supposed to do? Make the tabernacle, the walls of the tabernacle first, really he should have done, and then the ark, and then the utensils, the other items. And Moshe, for some reason, switched it around, and he told Betzalel, make the ark first. So Amar Loi, so Betzalel said, Moshe Rabbeinu, min hagesh halaylam, the custom of the world is Adam Bain Abayas machnis l'seichik kalim. A person builds a house, and afterwards he brings in vessels. Ve'ato omer aseh li aron b'kalim, and you're telling me make vessel, make utensils, the aron, the vessel, the mishkan, and then afterwards the mishkan. Kalim shani yisel leichan achnisam. What am I going to do? I'm going to stick it on the floor. Where am I putting this ark after I? Where am I leaving it? In the open field? Where am I putting this ark after I build it? Maybe Hashem said first, Aseh Mishkan, do the Mishkan, the actual tabernacle first, then Aron, and then Kevikalem, then Aron, and then the ark and the utensils. So Amar Loi, so Moshe said, B'Shema B'Tzel Kel Hayisa B'Yadata. Maybe you were in the shade of Hashem, B'Tzel Kel. In other words, it's a combination of his name, B'Tzalel. B'Tzel, the shade. Kel is the name for Hashem. So B'Tzalel, maybe you were in the shade of Hashem, and that your wisdom shows that you were in Hashem's protection, so to speak. Hashem was giving you this wisdom, and he said, yeah, must be that's what Hashem told me. Hashem, you're right, you're actually correct. So that's the story of Betzalel. And the next Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rab, Yedei B'Tzalel Tzar Place Sheniver Ben Shemaim B'Aretz. B'Tzalel was very knowledgeable. He knew how to join letters together. He knew how the heavens and earth, he knew how to join letters together. That's the way that the heavens and earth was created. Here it says, Hashem filled him with the spirit of God, with chachma, bina, and das, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And he gave him that ability, filled him with the spirit of Hashem, with these three levels of seichel, of intellect. V'ksiv hasa, and it says over there, Hashem b'chachma yasad eretz kainin shemayim esfuna u'chsiv v'daitoi taimis nivku. It says that the heavens and the earth are basically made from chachma, bina, and das. So, regarding the Mishkan, it says Hashem filled him a spirit of chachma, bina, and das. And when it talks about creation of the world, the heavens and earth, it says chachma, bina, and das. Where does it say chachma, bina, and das in creation of the world? It says the earth was established with chachma, wisdom. The heavens was established with bina, understanding. And the Tahaimais, I'm not sure how to translate the Tahaim, what would be a good word for Tahaim? The Tahaim, Bedaitoi Tahaimais Nivku, the springs of the depths. Okay, the depths. The depths were thank you. The depths were spring forth. Nivku, they were baka, they were broken loose with das. With das Hashem, there are like wells beneath the earth that spring forth water. So the B'daitoi Tahaimais Nivku, with his das, he made these wells for these depths that spring forth. Now, what does this mean? It means that B'Tzalel has chachma, bina, and das, and B'Tzalel's chachma, bina, and das, and that's what Hashem used to create the world with these letters with the chachma, bina, and das. Now, so the Gemara says B'Tzalel knew that. That's what Hashem gave him, the knowledge of how to create. He had so much knowledge about in order to be able to build the Mishkan, that he had the knowledge of Chachma Bina Das, which is the way Hashem created the world. In other words, the different combinations of letters, and that's how the world was created, by different combinations of letters. And in the book of Sefer Yetzirah, it explains how the world was created with the different letters. If anyone here wants to create anything, that's the book to have, Sefer Yetzirah. If only we would understand it. But the B'Tzalel knew. B'Tzalel theoretically could have created another world. He knew the combination, the ways of combining the letters to create, and that's it says that he had Chachma, Bina, and Das. So Rabbi, the is continuing to talk about B'Tzalel. Yes, David.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way B'Tzalel, even though he knows this, this is the proper order, and he knows what's supposed to be done. He doesn't say to Moshe, it makes sense to do it like this, or it should be done like this. He says, perhaps Hashem told you the following. He does it in such a humble way to speak to Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he knows what the proper order should be. He says it in such a humble way to Moshe. Maybe Hashem told you the following. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I'm just not sure if there's any other option for him to do. Now, do you really think he could have been more arrogant and said, Moshe, you must be wrong? I mean, like when Moshe said the law of Paraduma, did anyone say, Moshe, you must be wrong? I mean, this doesn't make sense. The Paraduma, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I think he wanted to. It definitely was different than he assumed, but I don't know if if he had the ability to be arrogant. You know what I mean? Like how much does he know of what God really wanted? You know what I mean? It sounds good. Yeah, maybe he said it in a humble way. I mean, who is he compared to Moshe? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy to say, oh, I think you made a mistake. A lot of times you find out that no, I made the mistake. I think that person's making the mistake. No, a lot of times you find out afterwards, oh, it's good I didn't say anything. Right? So I don't know if he was that. I don't know how convinced he was that he was right. So maybe it's an element of humility here. Maybe not.
Rabbi.
Maybe he wasn't 100% sure. Maybe he was 80% sure that something's wrong. Yes, Ezra.
Question. I don't know. I'm not there. I didn't know what the situation was. So the fact that it says that that the 13-year-old is saying the way of the world is this. So my question is really, is he so knowledgeable of the way of the world at his age? Or is it this situation that in which he was born into made him worldly in that sense? I mean, this is sort of a question that you can fold into David's comment.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. What did he need this knowledge for? To be able to create the heavens and earth? Well, like what benefit was it to him? He needed to know how to build the Mishkan. That's what he needed. What was the purpose of giving him the Chochmah, Bina, and Das, which is the secrets of Sefer Yetzirah, of how to create the heavens and the earth in the Tohimos, the depths of the earth? What was Betzalel? What was the purpose of giving him all of that knowledge? Is that so that's sort of what you're touching upon that. But so what exactly is the question?
Well, the fact that that a 13-year-old uses the phraseology, the way of the world is to do this.
And
the question is, how does he know?
Right.
He's 13 years old.
But he's an artist. Maybe because he's an artist, it's like certain people, from a child, they know what job they want. I think maybe he was, he understood building. He understood, he understood architecture. Yeah. Like, I don't know, that's a thought.
Question.
It's interesting point that you make. Right. How did he know?
That's probably the reason why he was given
this job.
Mabina and Dat.
Right, to be able to do everything properly. I'm just wondering, what did he really need such knowledge for? Maybe he only needed part of it, like to know how to create a world. I mean, that's more than anyone I know knows, and we know people who build a lot of things, but they don't have wisdom like that. I don't know who's first here. Robert.
Quick question. Thank you. I missed the text where Batzal's age was written. Where is it? I don't see it here.
That was not a text. It was from our friend Mordechai.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mordechai. I didn't hear that then. Okay. And where was the citation for that?
We got to ask him. It's a medrash, I guess. I don't know. Where do we know that from, Mordechai?
Not a Rashi.
Does Rashi say his age? Yeah.
Mordechai, you're muted.
Yeah, I think it might be Rush.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll
have to look
Good
it
enough.
up. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to say we have other young people, cases of young people knowing a lot, not as much as Bezalel, But like the prophet Yirmiyahu, the prophecies that he was doing at his age were amazing, you know.
But
Right.
isn't it
Okay. Look at
throughout
Shmuel
history?
Hanavi. Shmuel, even at he
Right.
got he was a little
Shmuel,
child.
right? Age
Right.
2 or whatever.
But isn't
Yes,
it throughout history, there've always been, let's say, children who have these visions or have this knowledge they're born with that we don't know where it comes from,
Yeah.
right? And whether Hashem gives it to them or it's part of their of whatever, they know that they have a cause, an understanding that goes beyond what we can see and experience during our whatever age we are.
Right. There are prodigies.
Yeah, prodigy, exactly.
Right. There are people. It's just it does seem surprising that Hashem that he would be given this knowledge if he's not like, for what purpose does he need that knowledge? I know he needed the knowledge to know what to build first. Okay, corrected, fixed up a mistake that we almost made. But what does he need this for? Now, maybe we'll put that question on the side. Unless, Ben, do you want to answer that?
No, I wanted to say that the first thing he got is Chokhmah. And if he had Chokhmah, he knew that whatever more things that he knows, he doesn't necessarily have to use it. Doesn't have to build a world. You know it, fine, but you use whatever you need. Like to build a Mishkan, to build a Kelim, those things he uses. But he doesn't use the extra things that are not expected from him,
Do we have instances, I think we do, in our readings where it's either written the hand of God hovers over somebody or touches their shoulder as a metaphor or whatever of giving something extraordinary that not everybody gets from Hashem, or Hashem identifies someone to be that messenger on earth? I mean, I'm trying to articulate it, but that's what, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not aware of an example. I don't know.
Okay.
I have to think about that. So, but I missed what you wanted to say, Ben. So what was your?
The question was, why was he given the knowledge to build the walls?
Right.
He had the knowledge, but he was smart enough to know what his job is and what his job is not. So
his knowledge to know not to go
not
beyond,
necessarily to use it. To use it when he needs it.
To know not to use it, almost like a challenge that he has to realize where not to go.
Right.
Right. I was just thinking, based on what Ezra was saying, that where did he get this idea that you build the first you build the house and then you build the vessels in it? Is it possible he got that from the concept of creation? That there's the heavens and the earth, and then afterwards, possibly first Hashem created the actual earth, and then he put all the creations in it. Then he created everything. Is it possible based on that?
He
Maybe
created the world first and created us last. So he knew who he needs to what he needs to do first.
So maybe based on creation of the world,
based
on creation of the world.
Right.
But anyway, just a thought, just based on the questions and the discussion that we have. Sometimes you can connect the dots. Okay. Mordechai, do you want to say something? Or?
Yeah, there was something before here about Sefer Yetzirah.
I can't hear. Say that again.
Yeah, there was something before about Sefer Yetzirah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it says in the Yamayam Louise that when Yosef met with the brothers the first time, that at a certain point he was alone with Binyamin, and he handed Binyamin copy of Sefer Yetzirah and asked him if he knew how to use it. And Binyamin said, yes, my father taught me how to use it. So then Yosef said, use that Sefer to figure out where your lost brother is. And Binyamin used them, started making calculations and looked puzzled. And Yosef said, why do you look puzzled? And he said, according to the Sefer, my brother's supposed to be right here, except it's only you and I that are here. And Yosef said, I am your brother, but just keep it quiet until it plays out. So that's the story about Sefer Yetzirah.
We're getting a little nervous about you, Mordechai. You might be able to create a universe.
I thought
Very nice.
Abraham
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought Abraham wrote Sefer Yetzirah.
Right. There is such a thing that Abraham wrote it. There are different sayings about it. Yes. Yes, Ezra.
Yeah, and I went on the internet. It says that the Masechet Sanhedrin, page 69b, is where they state that Bezalel was listed. It was 13 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
59b?
69b.
69b. Okay.
I see
Okay.
also that it says from Shemos Rabbah that he was 13 years old when he began building the Mishkan.
Okay. Thank you, Mordechai, for bringing it up, and thank you all for finding the source, Ezra and David. So the next, oh boy, it's 11 o'clock. Let me just mention this. Some of the commentaries ask, what good was it that he built the Mishkan first? In the end, he didn't even, they didn't put it up. They didn't put up the Mishkan until way later. They couldn't even get it up. They couldn't establish a Mishkan. So what his whole claim was that, you first got to build a Mishkan before you build the utensils for it. In the end, it didn't really help. They built the Mishkan. They didn't put it up, and it wouldn't stay. In fact, even during the Yemei Hamiluim, that was when they tried to inaugurate it and establish. They tried to set it up. Each day they put it up, took it down. So what good did it do that they built the Mishkan first? So in the end, it turns out that the idea was that at least once it was made, they would be able to immediately put the utensils in it, instead of having the utensils waiting around till you actually make it. So in other words, logic would be that it should have been made first, because you would put everything in. But even if you're not putting it in right away, but at least once it's ready to be established, you have you have it all ready to run with. So that's one of the understandings of why in the end that it was important to build the Mishkan first. Or logic. The only thing is, truth is, they didn't really end up using it. So theoretically, what would have happened if they built the other utensils for the other items first, and then they would have built the Mishkan after? Theoretically, I don't know if it would have been much different.
Where would they keep it until they build the Mishkan?
Where did they keep it now? After they built the Mishkan and they didn't put it up. They built the Mishkan. They had all the pieces all set. It was like a Lego set. You know what I mean? Like it was a certain, but they didn't have it built. It wasn't built. So where did they put the stuff? They put it near it.
Mishkan.
What is that?
At the same place they put the parts
But the Mishkan, they put it on wherever it was. They put it nearby. But it's not like they had a good location to stick it in. So what did it help, the whole thing? So why did Hashem want it to be that way? In other words, logic says that it's important to build it so that at least when it is ready, you'll be ready to run. But in the end, it didn't really help. They finished building this, they finished building that, and they still waited. Anyway, we're going to conclude. Have a good day. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.